Hello everyone, and this is DaseinWasHere today, and today we'll be talking about the top 5 tips, tricks, and tactics to playing Fractured Space. If you have these 5 things down, you will be able to master the game and then start learning more advanced skills and win a lot more matches. This is especially important now that everyone is now down to ground zero with the new wipe. Tip number 1, objectives over kills. Objectives are key to winning Fractured Space. Unlike a lot of MOBAs, where kills gross you a lot of income, which will help you get items or things to win the game. In Fractured Space, kills don't give your team many minerals. You're going to want to go in and focus mining stations because mining stations give you the minerals. And those minerals then give you the levels that you need to be able to win fights. And those fights will generally lead to you being able to capture enemy forward stations, which will open up the lane so you can jump into the enemy base. Also, the higher level you are, the better chance you have at capturing another big objective, which is Gamma. And Gamma is key to winning a game because the buff it gives really gives you an advantage, especially during stalemates. Keep in mind there are more tactics to Gamma and everything, but we'll talk about that later. So it is really important to be focusing on objectives. It is also key to note that if you're focusing on objectives and you're taking those objectives, the enemy is more likely to start reacting to you. And if the enemy is reacting to you, you start controlling the pace of the game. And if you're controlling the pace of the game, you really are able to start planning ahead and knowing an idea of what the enemy is going to do. Instead of if you're reacting to the enemy, you really don't know what they're going to be doing next. Thus, controlling the pacing of the game through capturing objectives or even feinting toward objectives is really key to winning the game. Tip number 2 is rotate your armor. Rotating your armor is key to winning and staying alive in fights in Fractured Space because if you have broken armor and the enemy is able to fire on that, you're going to go down very quickly, being as they receive a damage multiplier on that, which really does hurt. Thus, you're wanting to keep that any broken armor away from the enemy, and you're going to want to rotate it around. Admittedly, the best way of doing this is, in any fight, always have your armor facings moving around so the enemy is continuously hitting different facings, because if you're doing this, you're not going to have your armor break, and if it does break, it's really going to break later on in the fight, and in like 1v1 situations, you have two hunters fighting each other, one's rotating his armor, one isn't. The one that's rotating his armor is going to live a lot longer because the enemy's not getting that damage multiplier, or if he does, he's going to get it much later than if you're not rotating it around and the enemy's able to focus on that one spot, or you're able to focus on that one spot, and then the enemy's going to go down very, very quickly. Tip number 3 is think before you jump, and this encompasses a lot of things. Your jump drive allows you to go to the different sectors, the different lanes, and the different areas. This means you're going to want to use it wisely because it has a fairly decent cooldown, as well as if you jump while in combat, you're going to take a ton of damage. A jumping ship in combat is likely to die. But if you have to jump in combat, you're going to want to use your regular jump because if you hit jump home has a longer spool up time. This means you're going to have a higher chance of being hit by the enemy and of course are probably going to die because of it. Now, when you think before you jump, number 1, you're going to have to think about what jump points you want to go to because different ships have different strengths and weaknesses. If you're in a Reaper, you're a range specialist. If you're in a Brawler, you're a close range specialist. Thus, you're going to want to choose the jump point that really gives you the advantage. If you're in a Brawler, it might be right near cover so you don't get hit by that ranged enemy, or you might want to wait a little bit before going to like Gamma, see the enemy protector jump in, and then jump on top of him and kill him. But if you're in a Reaper or a Sniper and the enemy's going for your forward station and you have to defend it, you'll want to jump to a jump point the farthest away from where they are, not necessarily where the cap bubble is. That way you can pepper them with your ranged shots and not instantly die. That means you're really going to have to think about where and when you jump. And the last big thing out of this is also when you want to swap lanes, you're going to want to hit jump home, which allows you to then longer spool up time, but you're going to now jump to your home and then you can immediately use your jump drive again to jump to the lane. This really reduces the amount of time you spend jumping around and maximizes the time that you're actually in the game, not just positioning yourself. Tip number 4 is spin to win. Spin to win is essentially your jump positioning. You're going to want to rotate your ship in the direction you want it facing when you jump. Because think about the map as an actual map, and whatever direction you're facing when you jump is the direction you're going to be facing when you go into a sector. Thus, it is important to orient your ship in the direction you want it facing when you jump. That way you can react to situations much faster, and you don't look like an idiot having to turn your flagship around while you're backwards to go into the enemy forward station. And our final tip, tip number 5, is Gamma or Bust. Gamma is very important, and you're going to want to go to Gamma before Gamma actually comes online. This means you're probably going to want to jump about a minute before Gamma actually starts if you actually want to get Gamma, because if you jump to Gamma as soon as it's online and the enemy's already there, they're already going to have a good percentage of the cap on Gamma, or they're probably going to have it capped by the time you actually get into the cap circle. Thus, you're going to want to arrive to Gamma early if you want Gamma. Now, concerning Gamma, it is important to note that Gamma 1 is not as important. This means that if you're behind on mines and everything, you're going to want to probably cap mines more than focus on Gamma, or if you are ahead on mines, you're going to want to use Gamma to help drag things out a little bit. That way you build up your resource advantage. Keep in mind that later gases you do not want to lose, being as gas 2, 3, and 4, really give your team a massive buff, with gas 4 being the most important, being as gas 4 allows you to jump anywhere you want to. Yes, the enemy may have their forward station under their control, and you normally couldn't jump through to their base, but gas 4 allows you to jump directly into the enemy base. Thus, it is extremely important for you not to lose the gas 4 fight, or the enemy is going to be in your base and most likely win. And I hope you've enjoyed this video on the top 5 tips, tricks, and tactics of Fractured Space, and please remember to like and subscribe this video, and as always, take care.